she shouldn't be throwing stones in glass houses because,
She
girl,
has
you
no
don't own
house.
shit. You have no house. You don't own shit.
Hello, friend.
Hi, well, welcome everyone to Overanalyze with your two favorite overanalyzers. I don't have a lack of enthusiasm. I don't know how to express it. I don't know if
Yeah.
that makes sense. I mean, it's like I feel like I'm in a shield where I'm not allowed. Like my body's like, no, my God, you have to reserve. You're on battery reserve, so you can't express emotion even though you feel it. You know what I've been watching lately, and I told
What?
myself I used to love this show so much growing up, and I don't know if she even gets royalties anymore. I'm sure she does, but I love the show Roseanne. Again, in my nostalgia bubble, because I'm like I think it started in either late. I think it was the late '80s, early '90s. It definitely throughout the '90s. Now she's such a conspiracy theorist. When they rebooted the show Roseanne back in, I think it was, well, it was after.
It's like 2018, 20.
Think
It
so.
was
I
after
think
his
so.
first term. Mm.
It was because the big focus was she was MAGA and Jackie, who was her sister, was liberal, and they weren't talking because of that. I don't
Yeah.
know.
In the writer's mind and the producer's mind, it could have been amazing and it could have been a
Mhm.
good chance to be like, this is how families come together and have table talk, but
Mm.
we couldn't get there. So, but that's
Oh
okay
yeah,
because it canceling and then being spun into the Connors is actually a lot like the
yeah,
world actually is, where there's not
literally.
some kumbaya, hey, grandpa, your thoughts are off type of conversation. I hope you got your nostalgia fix with that first
Mm.
episode of
I
the
mean, I'm always
initial
finding it.
show. Yeah. I had Madison watch the Goofy movie,
I used to
the first
love that
one.
movie growing up. That's my one of my favorite movies. I love Goofy.
She's still a little bit too young to watch it because Max is in like high school or middle school, but she
Yeah,
likes the music and she just was laughing. She was like, those characters are so goofy. And I was like, no, literally.
I was like, that's
Like,
literally his name.
and then you know her. She's like, where's his mom? I was like, okay, all right, switch. I was like, Maddie, we don't have the whole family
Psychoanalyzed
tree.
everything. Going back to a time period I wish I could live in again is a Cinderella story with Hilary Duff.
No. I've seen
Okay.
the like cover, but I don't really
Yeah.
ever watched
So
it.
it's like her and Chad Michael Murray. It's so funny because basically the premise of the story is like what Cinderella, like, the story of Cinderella. But Hilary Duff did this whole interview where her kids watched it and they're like, how does he not know it's you? Because it's only because her
They're
eyes
only
are like,
covering your eyebrows.
so it's
The rest of your face is.
so when you said that about your daughter, it's so funny because if you had her watch it, she really like he really doesn't know it's her.
Well, remember during the pandemic, you could tell if someone was attractive even with a mask on, like a mask covering your nose and
Mm.
the majority of your face. So, yeah, those little masquerade masks that are literally only covering your eyebrows, I can tell who you are.
And you can tell it's so funny, but I love that movie.
I
So it's
know.
very early mid 2000s. The music, the whole high school of it all. It's just like
I'll
so
have to watch it.
when I want to go back and just watch something to feel like that time period again. That's always my go-to movie. I'm like I was like 14, 15 at the time, and I'm just like, oh my God, this is such a vibe.
Oh,
So,
I love that.
but yeah, well, speaking of vibes, we should get into today's episode. We are recapping
Yes.
Real Housewives of Rhode Island season 1, episode 8, titled Splitting Hair.
I could not stop laughing at Alicia being terrified of driving. Not her actual fear of driving, but like her emergency kit. She's like, I got my peppermint oil.
Hmm.
I got my crackers. I got my
Yeah, I
rose
mean,
mist
she's
to wake me
prepared.
back up.
She's prepared. The episode opens with Billy pushing Alicia to face her fear of highways so she can start picking up their daughter.
Hmm.
Alicia explains her anxieties get so bad that her own daughter has to calm her down from the back seat, and she takes, to what you just said, her crackers with her to settle her nerves before driving. I have never realized crackers could serve such a big purpose to somebody, but I mean, I,
She is so like fit and thin. I'm like, she probably just
she
snacks all
is.
day, so therefore she doesn't need to like binge at any time. So I was like, I'm not mad at you, Alicia, because she
Yeah.
eats more
No,
than
hey.
anyone we see on the show. But
So
that
while,
bridge she was terrified to go on, which literally looked like a on ramp.
oh, I know. I
I'm
mean,
proud of her for facing her fear.
we're very proud of you, Alicia. So while she's driving, Alicia talks to Billy about the Newport trip and reveals that she's still hurt over Liz snapping at her for calling her homeless.
I'm
This
so
whole
torn with this.
I'm not. The only thing I will say is I understood her point. I have a hard stop as Liz. But what I will say is hearing Liz talk about it, I believe she was on Watch What Happens Live after this specific episode, I want to say.
Mhm.
And she was doing what I instinctively thought that she was doing, which was she was protecting her from misusing that word and getting shit for it. Because she was, I agree, she was not homeless. You might not have had your childhood home, but you had a roof over your head and you were housed. So that's where, so I understood what Alicia was trying to say, because that does not take away from like the trauma of like whatever her dad. I'm still not quite clear because I've heard a couple stories since. Like, yes, what she went through that like sucks and that is horrible. And I can imagine, especially as a child, you're like, oh my God, like this is my home and now I can't live there anymore. However, she was not living on the street. You were not
Yeah.
unhoused. So that's what that word means, especially in the United States. When you say you're homeless, you're referring to you do not have a place to live. You're not housed anywhere. You're living on the street. You do not have a home. So
So I've
that's what I
yeah.
would say. So I have a problem with the word, not her
Yeah.
experience.
I have a problem with that word. I've never used it, but I have been unhoused. When I was in law school, I was engaged, and when I split with the guy, he kept the apartment and I had to leave. And I slept on people's couches for 5 weeks. But I was in a state where I didn't have family. You know what I mean? So I'm like, but
Mm-hmm.
I've intentionally never said I was homeless because that feels like on a bench sleeping in the park homeless.
Mm-hmm.
So I you know what I mean? I guess if I would have asked them and they said no, I would have been sleeping in my car. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I was like, is this a privilege on her part that she could say she's homeless and I can't acknowledge that I kind of was unhoused? Like I just don't know where.
Mm-hmm.
And I also get Liz's point where she's saying you are surrounded by family, no one would
Right.
have
Well,
left you
exactly.
homeless. I have only talked about that with like three people because it's very
Mhm.
hurtful. And so I was like, it kind of weakened Alicia's argument because I was like, when that happens, you can't discuss it because you're just like, I am
Mhm.
completely vulnerable. So then I was
Right.
like, I was torn to
Yeah.
hear it. Unfortunately, most of her point was lost because
Right.
you were not unhoused. In
Mhm.
fact, I'm pretty sure at the reunion we will see a picture of your grandfather's house and it will be this big ass mansion.
Mhm.
And it might even be a better home than the one you were in terms of like more amenities
Yeah.
and more this and that. So
Yeah. I mean,
it
yeah,
was
she
it was
had she
tough.
had somewhere to go. Her family had somewhere to go, and which is
Yeah.
where they went. They were not, couch surfing or bump.
Yeah.
If that was the case, then I would have a difference of opinion to some extent. But you didn't have your childhood home, so then you had to go move into.
Yeah.
Keyword being you had to move into your grandfather's house, like.
You had provisions to go to. Yeah.
Right. And not that I'm the
Yeah.
most grammatically correct person or anything by any means or stretch of the imagination. However, I would never, even if I was leaving my apartment and like when I left New York or here and I went to New York to live with my aunt and uncle, I was not homeless, even though that was not my home. But I wasn't
Right.
homeless. I lived there. So,
Yeah.
but I don't take away any like of her experience because those two things can be true at the exact same time. It's like that was a tough
Yeah.
time, but you weren't homeless. So then we see Kelsey's new apartment. So Kelsie moves into her new apartment, and even her confessional background, if you noticed, reflected that.
Yeah.
So her boyfriend, this is really interesting to me. So her boyfriend, well,
Ex-boyfriend.
I was gonna say like her new boyfriend ish. See that she's really like such a confusing individual. Is there helping her move, but we also find out that her ex boyfriend is paying for it. This
Yes,
apartment.
we get to meet Kelsey's mom and her sister, which her
Yeah.
sister looks so much like her. And one of my favorite things about them moving and unboxing all of her
Mhm.
stuff is when the mom and sister are side eyeing each
I
other
yes,
because they're
I would
like,
have done the same thing.
but no, I appreciate that because this is our first time seeing them. And I'm like, is the entire family delusional that she's been living with
Mhm.
this guy for 10 years? And
I
no,
thought that
the
too.
answer is no. And I was happy to be like, she is the exceptional unicorn. Yes, Miss Rhode Island. Yes, all the other stuff. But,
Hmm.
when she's not around, they're just like, is she still living
Hmm.
with that guy? What is this arrangement again? Is he in town or
Yeah.
not? So I was comforted by that. to know
I
that.
mean, I was too. I mean, I was. Yeah. So Kelsey's mom is bothered that her ex is still paying for things and wants
Yeah.
Kelsie to commit to Bill, who is her new beau,
Mm-hmm.
and give her grandchildren. It sounds like my mother. But Kelsie says she wants to live on her own for at least a year. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
just like,
Emphasis on live on your own, not
I
be
know. And I'm
independent.
like, that's what I mean. Like, this whole scene, because I am definitely her mom and her sister in this. Like, I'd be like, you're not independent because independence would also imply that you're footing all of this. Maybe you're independent to some extent, but let's be completely honest. That guy, your ex-boyfriend, wasn't around half the year. The only difference really is yeah, you're not you weren't in a monogamous relationship with them. So you're not in any type of relationship other than she says that he's going to continue paying for her health insurance, her car, this apartment. So you don't. So now you just have a financial relationship with him, and I'm assuming to some extent, maybe at that point, a friendship. I suppose I don't know how you couldn't have some sort of platonic relationship. So that's really the only difference. Otherwise, he's still footing your bills, and while you have another boyfriend, and I'm just like, I'm sorry, that would not sit well with me whatsoever. I mean, I don't know what conversation that took place like between her and Bill, because I would imagine like if I was in a relationship with another guy and had another guy an ex of mine paying all my bills, I'm pretty sure, or not me, but like say I started dating someone and that was a similar situation, I would not be okay with that whatsoever. But I would have hoped that they talked about that prior to see like, okay, are you cool with this for a year? Are you not? Like, I
Do
would
you
hope.
want to pay the bill?
Exactly. Can you?
So you were being very generous. The only thing that Kelsie misses is the maid and the
Mm-hmm.
people who are cleaning her stuff. Right? She does not miss him.
Mm-hmm.
Because even listening to you, this whole thing sounds ridiculous. He's
Mm-hmm.
continuing to pay for everything while putting you in a new place.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't even have to have sex with him, but were you even having sex with him before? Because he was
Yeah.
gone for 6 to 8 months out of the year. So it's just like, that's even beyond sugar
Mm-hmm.
daddy. You literally just have like a fairy godfather
Yeah.
just covering everything. And so, what we did not see, and we don't know if that's the editors or not,
Mm-hmm.
is a conversation where the mom goes, well, do you need help? Do you want us to help? She just
Mm-hmm.
is more so like, he's covering it. How do you feel?
Yeah.
And so, I appreciate learning that she is a regular person from a well adjusted family, two parents, and she just still chose to be herself, whether
Right.
we are judging that polyamorous self or not. And then I don't know if I think Bill is strong
Mm-hmm.
or they just have an indelible match and he just can't shake her. I don't know. For all we know, he had a crush on her since middle school and he just can't shake it. Cause I'm not sure
Mm-hmm.
if he is like proud of her that he doesn't have to foot the bill or and then I'm watching the episodes and I think it's funny that Kelsey's not even embarrassed to say these things. Like I think I would be embarrassed to say that I couldn't pay my
Oh,
bill.
no, I've met those girls. I've met these kind of girls
Okay,
and
I
gay
haven't met
guys.
these girls in a long time.
Yeah, I have met these girls. I have known girls like this that will, and I'll be completely honest with you. With the way things are, I'm like, please, someone pay my bills. I
You
would,
say that, but
please.
I don't know.
I would, but I'm saving up my own money in between. I'm not. So here's what
Uh,
she's laying around on pool floats while this guy was in Miami, and she's just like doing whatever. Me, if I could get someone, even if he's like a rich old guy, you're like, yeah, I'll pay your rent for you. My life is still not changing. I'm gonna continue to work full time. That tells me I can pocket money, or if he wants me to quit, he's giving me allowance. I'm saving some of that so that I can be financed. Like this is like a short term deal here. So
gotcha.
I have met these girls that are so unapologetic proud to be like, I don't care. He pays my bill. I don't do anything. Blah blah blah. I've met these girls that will tell anyone that asks. They don't give two fucks. They think it's a flex, and maybe to some it is, because there. I'm not gonna lie. There's a part of me that goes, man, I'm jealous of that. I wish I had something like that in my life. I mean, that's a natural thing, but it's full bigger picture. It's really not a big flex because I'd rather not be dependent, especially financially dependent on anybody, because when you really think about it, that's the ultimate kind of control, especially in
Yeah.
like abusive relationships. There's a lot of stories of like, especially like women who can't, leave their shitty husbands because they have full financial control. And they have no money of their own. And so it's like, for them to actually leave, it's like, well, how would I do that when I don't have a single cent to my name? Because I have all my money's
Yeah.
connected to that guy. So regardless, but I also
I don't
think
think it's
Bill,
a flex just because you got him based on your looks. Like I think it's something that like it's not. How do you replicate that?
you don't.
Yeah, so I kind of think it's lightning in a bottle, but
I mean, not really. When you think about it, she's a hot girl. These are common stories. Maybe the part where like she's no longer with him and he still can
mm.
pay. That might be the lightning in the bottle.
And
Because I'm like,
without sex. If he was showing up every couple
well, how do we
weeks for
know
that,
that?
yeah, that's true.
How do we know that for sure?
I think I don't watch enough TV then. Maybe it's that.
Well, it's not even that. I mean, like I've met these people like in the wild. Kind of. I work with like part-time people that just don't give a fuck because they don't have to. Like, well, I don't need this because someone pays all my shit. I'm like, okay, well, and I'm like, I always looked at that. I'm like, that is not the life I want to have. I do not want to be. I'm fiercely independent that way.
Yeah. Okay.
So Bill also stops in, and he's also encouraging. So they talk about the car situation. Like he does not like that this guy is also paying for her car. Is trying to nudge her towards some form of independence because he's like, well, can we at least get rid of the car? I think she drives like a Range Rover. Because I've heard a couple of the things. Because at first my thought was like, why would he be responsible for paying your car? Like that's shitty. Like so the deal is, okay, you want me to get rid of my car? You pay for it. How about you pay for your own shit? But then I thought about like, okay, well, this is her lifestyle that she has for 10 years. Now she's with this other guy. Cool. So he kind of knows this pride because he was like kind of dating her while she was still with it, at least based on what she's saying. So it makes me wonder. I'm like, did you all talk about this? Like when she decided to leave him, like she's like, I'm not getting rid of my car X, Y, and Z unless you want to pay for it, and that's kind of the deal. What do you want to do about this? Because
Yeah.
if that's the case, that's different. Otherwise, I'm like, girl, you should not be asking anyone to pay for your shit unless you are an adult. You need to pay for your own shit. So I'm curious to see where if that goes anywhere in the future. Like I don't know what their current status is. I think they're still together, from my understanding, but you need to be
Yeah.
responsible for yourself.
It reminds me of people say that they're grown when they're 18, when you turn 18 years old.
Hmm.
But I like to say if you go straight to college, you're kind of not grown till you're 22, 23, and you're out of school because you've gone and you've either had like school paid for with loans or with your parents. So you haven't really done anything on your own. So it's almost like she's just now being grown at 30, which is probably, I would be terrified.
I would be too.
But I don't even think she's smart. Not, I don't mean smart enough like that. I mean like observant enough to
Hmm.
even feel how vulnerable she is. Like, I think with having a decade of being with this guy, I think she
Hmm.
hopefully knows him enough to know he's not going to just be like, you know what, I'm tired of paying for it. It sounds like he can afford it, but what if he just wanted to just stop? Like,
Hmm.
I think she's in such a vulnerable place. I think it's
Yeah.
actually pretty terrifying, but that's only because I'm a cynical, alert
Yeah.
person.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I'm trying to watch it. I'm trying to not like
Yeah.
put my stuff on her, but I'm like, I cannot imagine feeling like that at 30. I would feel so, so
Oh my
vulnerable.
god, I would feel like a loser. I'm sorry, and no offense against her. I shouldn't.
You
She made
said
no.
what I couldn't say.
I don't think it's a stretch for anyone to not understand this at this point, but she's certainly not my favorite on this show. Anyways, so then we see
Joellen.
Joellen visit. So my notes say this was her childhood home. Was it her childhood home or her grandfather's home? I'm
Her
confused.
grandfather's
That's,
home, but I believe
but
she lived
she,
there for a
because her
period.
grandfather
Yeah.
helped really like take care of her. Yeah. Okay. This was a very deep scene, and Joellen was on a podcast I listened to before this episode aired, and so she hinted at like she had talked about being sent away for numerous things for basically no reason, by her mother, and that's why we see. And then I think she mentioned it. I forgot it was if it was her the first episode or second episode of the show, of the season, that she kind of like sets it up that she has a. I can't remember how she said it, but basically she didn't have the most colorful and bright relationship with her mother, so we kind of knew that there was something there.
But
But she
she
said on
said
this,
it kind of jokingly, right? She's like,
right?
oh, she doesn't really know. She doesn't want to be
Yeah,
a
it held
grandma.
no,
Ha ha.
it held no, not a lot of weight with
It
me in
wasn't
terms
like
of like.
this.
I didn't think about it would be something like this. I just thought it was like maybe like they just have different points of view of like how things should be done or something. And it's really sad because basically she's saying that you sent me away for no reason. The mother is basically claiming that she was out of control, and Joellen's like, "How? Like, what? How was I out of control?" Because, and I can't remember if she said it in this episode. If I'm mixing the episode with an interview that she did, but she did say that she kind of grew up physically pretty fast. Like her boobs developed like pretty big at an earlier age than most, I guess, of her peers, and so she looked a little more mature. So she got a lot of attention that way. But otherwise, she was like, I wasn't doing anything out of bounds. And it sounds like, from my understanding too, that Joellen's sister actually had a little tougher in some of these camps. Like she was kind of, I don't want to say that she was abused because I don't know if that was the word was used, but she had even some darker, I guess, challenges in some of these places. And it was really like, it was really sad to see because I look at things now because I reflect on my life of like childhood traumas that I've had, and I had spectacular parents. But I had childhood traumas from other things. But then there was also like some things that happened in my life in relation to my parents. Not like abuse by any means. That's not what happened. I just mean things like, when I moved from New York to Alaska, I was a kid and I was gay, but I was discovering it, and I told one friend, and I was plucked out of my environment and going to the next, and I became so depressed. And was kind of like a turning point in my life and my development. So I look back on that as trauma. So two different kinds. But my bigger point is like that does not leave you. Childhood trauma that stays with you, and it can evolve into different things about yourself. I always say, like, especially our generation and up, like I praise like Gen Z and all these young kids because they're very outspoken about their emotions and very in tune with saying what's on their mind and what they're feeling. And like some might find that annoying. I think more often than not, that's a very liberating and very healthy thing because we're probably one of the last generations where we go through shit and I always say, like, childhood trauma, it's like breaking an arm, right? Like when you break an arm or a leg, you go to the hospital, you get a cast so it can heal properly. Childhood trauma develops horribly into adulthood if it's not treated, if you don't put a cast on it, you don't deal with it like a lot of us didn't. And it develops and evolves into a lot of different things as an adult that you reflect, you're like, oh my God, that's why I was making all these kind of mistakes or picking these types of people or getting into things that I shouldn't have been, or even your mental state or how you treat people or relationships. Like you can oftentimes connect the dots of certain things that maybe happened when you were much younger that you just never dealt with. So I get mad. So I hear her talking about that. It just makes me wonder, or have empathy, because I can only imagine what that does to her now as a mom and a wife, and like how she parents. And I
Yeah.
think she's talked about like trying to break those cycle of things that she went through. So I really praise her for being able to be so open about this.
And she said that. She's like, Mom, do you know how the stuff we dealt with is showing up everywhere in our life?
Yeah.
And the mom starts crying and she mentions a time. She's like, I broke an
Hmm.
arm or fell and got stitches. And my mom
Hmm.
says, My floors, I just cleaned the floors. I just did this. And I shed a little tear
Hmm.
because you don't have any training to become a parent. It's literally more challenging for me to go and get a fish and bring it home than to have a
Hmm.
kid. And that mom has their own life that they're going through, and then they have a child and they have to include them, and no one teaches you that. And so I was like, I was crying for the mom, I was crying for Joellen and her sister,
Hmm.
and mostly because like you don't know what will stick with the
Yeah.
kid. I'm sure the
Yeah.
mom probably thought that was a flippant thing and then gave her a hug, took her to the hospital, she got her
Maybe. Yeah.
stitched, and the daughter is just like, but you were a bitch to me. She's
Hmm.
probably got so much more evidence of maybe that, or maybe it wasn't, but still, she didn't know how to not do that. And so I feel like she probably sent the girls away because stuff was happening that she could not handle. And
Yeah.
instead of doing something flippant or terrible, she was like, let me put you with someone that at least someone else who can handle it, right? But it was very, very tough to see.
Hmm.
And I want to say kudos to the sister because I
Hmm.
was cringing watching it. I forgot that the sister said she was sent away as well. And I was
Hmm.
like, please don't let the sister jump in and be like, Mom, but you tried your best. I was like, don't do
Hmm.
it.
I
And
know
she
she really had her
didn't, thank
sister's back.
God. She just
Yeah.
sat there and listened. And then at the
Yeah.
very end, when Joellen had kind of like thanked her for apologizing, she was like, Mom, we know you did as best you could. And I'm sure she's had her
Hmm.
own dealing with it. But
Yeah.
that was touching. That was touching. But like, it's never too late to apologize. I'm sure,
I agree. So I understand it's like generational. So she's didn't she?
it
I mean,
is.
I believe her when she says. Not that I agree. I believe her when she says that she did the best that she knew how. I'm sure that is true if you don't have the tools. Kind of to your point, and you didn't have the not only the example, but you don't have like the rule book, so to speak. So I mean, that's all it takes in these conversations. I feel like as long as you can take accountability, just don't be. And then that's why I thought she was going for a second. The mom of like, listen, this is your daughter's experience. Do not negate her feeling. You can talk about like, your experience as a parent, but I also, and maybe I mean I'm not a parent, so I try not to say like how someone should parent, but I'm certainly have been a child and I know what it's like to be talked down to, all that kind of stuff, not, have your feelings seen or heard. And so I'm a big advocate. I'm like, let's not take away from people's experience by any means. Two things can be true at the same time. However, you sent your kids to some shitty ass places. And you need to take accountability for that. So she kind of did.
Yeah. Yeah.
So quickly, let's touch on a couple things that also happened. We do see that Liz and Dolores are developing a menopause gummy
Yeah.
together. So we love that. This is also, to be clear, is not a edible. Won't have THC in it. It's just to help with, I don't know, I guess like your hormones or the things that help counteract some of the symptoms, I guess, of menopause. So we love to see them do that.
Yes. They mentioned how Rhode Island has protected women
Yes,
who
that's
are of
right.
menopausal
Yes.
age, protected them in the
The
workforce
only
because,
the only state in the
yeah.
country.
I know. I have heard horror stories about menopause,
Yeah.
brain fogginess. And we see people on TV all the time talk about hot flashes and this and that. But
Hmm.
like to lose your job because your hormones are doing something that you don't
Yeah.
control is not fair. So I do think that that
Yeah.
is a great thing that Rhode Island has come up with
Oh my
that.
God, yeah. I've heard stories about like high profile like executives that are women, and they all they wanted was like they're going through something, they needed to get it figured out. They ended up getting fired for it when really came to when they were going to see a doctor, where they found out it was like either menopause or perimenopause. And all they needed was like a few months just to get like understand their hormones, like what, and that's all they needed. And this is kind of like what this kind of birthed from, I think. So I commend them for doing this, and I think that should be, quite frankly, on the federal level. But join the
Absolutely.
list of things. Alicia is expressing how she's dreading telling Rula about the cheating video. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I'm so sick of this. I'm hoping that behind the scenes she has other conversations with her husband, but she is just not clearly open to these kind of conversations, which is why I think Alicia's hesitating or is saying that she's uncomfortable because they go to dinner at her house, her and her husband. Do you think she should have told her? Or no, I think she did the right move of not telling her at this. That was a very cringy dinner to begin with. The whole thing was cringy. He
Whole
was
thing is
cringy.
cringy.
Brian, her Rula's husband, was cringy. I definitely like that was so uncomfortable. He removed himself from the table. I think he said, what did he say?
Foot
He was like,
emergency.
yeah, and then he came back and it was like a different. He said something totally different, and I'm just
He
like,
doesn't like Rula, and the entire room is icy because we can
yes,
tell you guys are completely separate. And
yeah,
he's comparing me to surgery, and I'm just
yeah. He's
like
so ugh.
enough, enough. And
He's so
so
cringy.
the room setting was beautiful. I thought it was sweet that Rula was really excited to host. I don't think Alicia
Kind
should
of makes
have
me
told her
sad.
there. I don't,
She
not
knew how
that
to
she
read the
shouldn't
room.
care as much, but you have Rula's number. Like you could text her
I
and
know. It's like
tell
why?
her.
I was
So
wondering why she thought like, oh, I know how I can tell her. Let's have a double date dinner at her house. Like I was like, I don't
yeah.
see how that would work to begin with. To your point, what you said, like Rula seemed excited. There was something about it. I don't know if I'm curious if like other fans have felt this way. There was something about that also made me feel sad for her because I'm like, it almost was like she was like, oh my God, yeah, a visitor that's wants to know me and my husband rather than like question me about, you know what I mean? I don't know how to say it. There was something I felt kind of sad for her in a way of like, I don't want to say pathetic. That's not the right word. That sounds really harsh. But there was something that seemed very like you
Like
felt
he
bad.
doesn't
Like, oh
let her
my
have
God.
people come over.
Yeah,
I was like, I don't think she has. I mean, we saw her host her girlfriends before,
yeah, but they
but
were
they
like,
were more of
yeah,
like her friends and in her
right.
community.
That's different. Or
If, I mean, this episode is after they were just at the polo match.
yep.
So she may have just been excited to
Hmm.
see, for them to even have accepted the invite after the way that that ended,
Hmm.
with her husband Brian having his ring, then not having his ring.
Yeah, I
You
don't know
are
how close they
correct. I
are,
don't
but
know what the emotion was, but she was extra, extra like, this is my chance to shine in a very weird way.
like I almost felt sad for her.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's get to the now we can talk about
Oh my
the best part of the
gosh.
whole episode. So, what we learned in this episode, which I'm really curious of how this even happened, but I guess Kelsie agrees to cut Rosie's hair again. Meanwhile, remember they that argument in the past of where Rosie didn't like post photos of I was so stupid. I'm like, well, you should all talked about that beforehand, but when you did her hair the first time, but she agreed. I guess now I'm assuming to what like maybe extend an olive branch. I don't know.
Yeah, Rosie said she was telling her husband that she was going to reach out to Kelsie to do her hair again.
Yeah. So Kelsie makes a joke by she is approaching Rosie's house by blaring a siren and announcing house police, which this is a prank, right? I didn't think it's funny. By the way, I feel so bad for her, Clemmy, Rosie's dog, who's like, what the fuck is going on? So Rosie and Kelsie go inside, and almost immediately, I swear it didn't take long because Rosie had the plans out, which I thought. See, to me,
Rosie
like
was planning a prank while Kelsie was doing a prank.
two are very different, though, in my opinion. Rosie's to me was funny in terms of it didn't have to. It was okay. Coming to my home, you're gonna do my hair. Coming to my home, you're just gonna have the subtle plans where it's not like in your face, but you like, because I'd be like, girl, you're so silly, and then you can move on. Me approaching your house with a fucking siren, yelling like that is taunting at something that bothers me. Meaning for Rosie, like I didn't think that was funny. I was a little like hesitant, even with me saying that with the plans out. I'm like, oh, girl, you're so petty, but that's Housewives petty. I'm like, I can live with that. Kelsie to me is not funny.
The reason I
Yeah,
thought it was funny was because it was the middle of the day. If it was
yeah.
nighttime, you know what I mean? But I did
That's
feel
not
bad for
true.
the dog. I
I
even have a note
know,
here. I was
Clemmy.
like, how upset is Clemmy at them screaming at each other? Like,
I
is she like
know.
hiding or is she barking in the middle, like trying to break them up? Because they go 0 to 140
Literally, yeah, it happened so fast.
immediately.
Hmm.
And
And then they start. Well, I should say things escalate pretty quick. Like, it really
they
escalated
never
pretty
sit
quick.
down. I
They
never
never sit
got you a
down. They're
glass of
standing.
water.
They have what I would feel comfortable saying is a verbal explosion. Rosie unloads on Kelsey's house, husband, career, finances, sex life, and pageant history. And I think one of the things that she said to Kelsie is exactly what my whole point of the 8,000 square foot house is and why she's like giving Rosie so much shit. 'Cause she says, well, where's your house? And that is kind of like, there's nothing else to be said here. Because while Kelsie is banging guys to pay her bills, which is, be completely honest, and I'm sorry if that sounds, harsh, but I really don't care. She's throwing what's the expression? She shouldn't be throwing stones in glass houses
Because
because
she
girl,
has
you
no
don't own
house.
shit. You have no house. You don't own shit. At least whether she owned a 1,000 square foot home or an 8,000 square foot home, she owns a home. This is her. She pays the proper, hopefully, pays her property taxes. She pays that mortgage. She paid for, however, it doesn't really matter. So to me, this whole argument comes down to that's all it needs to be said because I don't not know why Kelsie gives two shits about this. And then she says, "Where's your house? Come to me when you have a husband. Come to me when you have a career." And then my favorite one in this little match, sucking dick is not a career. And I just knew I'm like, this is going to be instantly iconic. And she's also
Instantly.
correct. Rosie also calls Kelsie a nobody, saying the only thing you have ever done in your entire life was win a pageant, and you didn't even win. Your sugar daddy had to bribe the judges.
Which is not far fetched.
Probably not far fetched. And then my favorite part, then, as they're yelling, is I am Rosie in this argument. I'm not going to lie to you. And even if, listen, they both had low blows, whatever. My temper would have definitely gotten the best of me in this scenario. That I loved when she took her little makeup kit and she kind of like threw it out her front door. That would have been the I'm like, because also let's not forget she is in her home. She's in Rosie's
Yeah.
home that she owns.
Kelsie does. I don't think I really noticed it because we typically see her at a restaurant or we see her at home.
Hmm.
She does give an air. And I was like, even in her house, she was kind of standing like it was like she was at home, not that she was in Rosie's house. She does
Right.
give that air that I think could be infuriating. Well, obviously it is because Rosie went nuts. And
Yeah.
so
It's the dumbest thing to go after her about, especially when you don't have one, bitch. Like you don't pay your own bills. We just saw that in the earlier in this episode. So I
but
don't
maybe
get it.
that's it. Maybe it's like the
Jealousy.
not projecting, but jealousy, where she's like, even the first time I did your hair, you could come over to my place. I don't even have that now. Maybe she does need a friend that she can actually talk to. This isn't the way to endear herself. I was watching it with my jaw on the ground because I have
Hmm.
not seen housewives fights like this. And I was just like, We saw them argue on the boat, but it was not like this. And she threw
Yeah.
her bag outside. She pushes her out the door, literally.
I was gonna
Kelsie
say,
bucks up and tries to come back in. Then the producers grab Rosie and then they let her come back in. I'm guessing they said, do not go near her or within like 10
mhm.
feet or something. Because then she comes back in and is still talking
That
about,
made me so mad. 'Cause I know that's a controversial thing of like when it comes to getting physical with someone. It's a lot of people argue, okay, well, if you're gonna get in my personal space, especially in my face, there's no more rules anymore in terms of putting your hands on somebody. I sometimes get conflicted. I guess it's. I know this is gonna sound silly, but I still stand by it. Like, I guess I want to know what the intention is. Is it to intimidate, or do you think the person's actually gonna like fight you if they're in your face? That moment looks so. She looks so pathetic. Of like,
you could tell she's heard that
no,
before, that she didn't
exactly,
actually win.
exactly. Those are my
Uh-huh.
exact thoughts. I'm like, oh, that's like a sticking point with her because
Uh-huh.
you came back just to say that, not like fuck you, bitch. Like I was expecting something like she talking about bucking up. I thought she was gonna come back and like say some
Yeah.
shit after being
Uh-huh.
thrown out of someone's house to willingly go back in there. You have fucking balls for one, and if that's the thing that you yell out is, I actually won the like you're stupid. And then to your point, the infamous line, everybody in Rhode Island knows that you fuck married men, you're a slam pig. Instant iconic line.
You're a slant, and literally credits. It's like, and I was like, what?
Hmm. And now we have an iconic line, an iconic fight, in an iconic
And
episode.
even
And
I didn't. I feel like I've heard the term.
I certainly haven't, but it's so funny because online a lot of people are like, I don't get what it means. I had to look it up. I'm like, you really couldn't connect the dots here.
I just assume like whore, but
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
yeah, I just know. I first of all,
And she said it with such angst. I'm like, oh, you're good.
yeah, you could tell that she. I feel like a couple of episodes ago, I thought that Rosie was the instigator, but
Hmm.
she can hold her own. I think she's kind of been biting her tongue a little bit that I hadn't
I will say
expected.
this is the episode where I became a fan of Rosie. Like I am a fan. This scene is what I thought Rosie would have been since episode one. And not like fighting all the time.
Mhm.
That's not what I mean. I mean the kind of like she's that girl. Like she's funny. She can throw daggers when she needs to. She's a little petty and a little messy, but she's endearing. But you don't want to fuck with her because she can like read you. Like I always thought she was that girl, and I could kind of see it in some episodes and little moments, but it was never on full display.
Mhm.
And I was like, maybe I got her wrong, but this is exactly who I thought I would fall in love with on the show. Like, oh, this is my
Yeah.
kind of girl.
I like her. I can't wait to see more of her.
I know.
I thought it was great. Yeah, I thought this whole episode was really really good.
It
It
was
was
good.
slower, but it was
It was a
everyone
good
had
one.
something pretty good. Yeah.
All
So, all
right.
right, you guys, thank you for watching and listening. Let us know what you think. Did you know what a slam pig was? Did you not? And we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
If you're thirsty, try a poppy. And don't worry, your lip bar lipstick will not come off while you eat. I'm practicing ad reads for when we get massive. Okay.
Yeah, when's that happening?
Yesterday, please, God. Okay. I apologize. It has happened in a lawyer podcast recording and it irks my gator. But that was a good reminder that I was not on Do Not Disturb. Usually we're recording at 11 p.m. and we don't have this issue. Nobody is calling me.